New vim AutoCommands are a really powerful concept and can make your editing way better. So what they are and why are they useful? First of all, what they are is those commands can react on various events that happen within the editor, whether it's Vim or NeoVim. So think about it: saving file, deleting file, opening something. All those events can be registered and then various AutoCommands can be executed against them. You can automate all kinds of repetitive tasks, for example, linting files or, moving, copying on save, whatever it might be. It obviously improves efficiency because it automates a lot of things. You can also integrate it seamlessly with external command line tools, which we'll see in a few examples. And again, it can trigger action on almost any event. There's a huge list of events that NeoVim supports. So AutoCommands execute a specific command automatically when an event occurs. It could be opening, reading, but there's also exotic events like, doing something on the NeoVim terminal or reacting to copy-paste events and so on. I use it extensively. I'm going to show you a few interesting examples, and I want to encourage you to take advantage of it and make your Vim workflow much nicer. So let's start by looking at how the syntax looks like. So here are two ways you can create AutoCommands. The first part is auto group or AU group. At the top here you can see NeoVim specific syntax. Let's quickly go through it. So the vim.api is just invoking a NeoVim API. So those are various functions that are available within NeoVim, like creating commands, creating AutoCommands and others. The nvim _create _au group, in this case it's a function that creates a group that is essentially a box where you can place all your AutoCommands that are related to each other. Then we have a group name, and the clear is a default parameter, typo here, the default parameter that clears all existing commands in a group after executing, so you don't repeatedly execute the commands. Once you have a group created, you can actually create a command. So the anatomy here is really simple and similar. Vim API again to access all the NeoVim API functions, and then we use nvim _create _auto cmd, and this function accepts two parameters. It accepts an event table. In Lua, everything is a table, and accepts the options, abbreviated to OPTS, which is a like a Lua specific idiomatic way of passing options. Again, same NeoVim API. The function it is registering your AutoCommand event handler, and then you can pass an array of events. And then options, we'll see later, they contain quite a few things you can tweak. Alternatively, you can use Vim script syntax. Both are supported, and I think both will be supported in NeoVim, but of course you cannot use this Lua syntax in Vim. However, you can use this one inside of Vim. So let's quickly go through what happens when we use AutoCommand. Imagine we have registered an AutoCommand, and then some form of event happens within NeoVim. For example, we can save a file, which is a buff write post event, or we can have any other events. If this event is triggered, NeoVim will check whether there are any AutoCommands registered for this event and for a specific pattern. So it will say, am I in the text file? Maybe this file has to have a specific name. So AutoCommands are registered per file pattern. If it detects that there is AutoCommand registered, one or more, it will execute either a callback, which is a function that we can call from Lua, or will simply execute an inline command. So that's how the whole flow works. An event happens, NeoVim checks for AutoCommands and then executes them. They're found. So let's look at a few very useful AutoCommands. One that I find myself using all the time, and it's really intuitive. I think it should really be part of default NeoVim, is highlighting yanked text. So yank is a NeoVim speak for copy, and you can see I'm creating the AutoCommand here, and the event here, text yank post. So it is an event that is being triggered anytime I actually perform a yank operation. So I'm copying something. Pattern star stands for every file. And then I'm using callback here, as you've seen earlier. And the callback is just a Lua function. So again, I'm using here vim to access all the functions. And then this is a specific function that is designed to highlight on yank. So it's nothing to do with AutoCommand by itself. I'm just triggering it on this event. And this AutoCommand is going to essentially highlight briefly for 250 milliseconds the text that has been copied, which kind of gives me a visual feedback. Yes, I have copied the text. So this is a really nice function. You can copy paste it to your AutoCommands and use it straight away. Another one is running Go tests on save. So here you can see that first I create a Go settings AutoCommand group because I have more than one Go AutoCommand. And then creating an AutoCommand again, here's buff write post, meaning anytime I save a buffer. If you're confused with the terminology buffer, buffers are special vim or NeoVim construct that essentially hold files. So buffers doesn't mean that it is a file that you see, it's just a file that is loaded into a buffer. And a window is something that shows a buffer content, which is a file. So that's why this event is called buff write post. So after writing to buffer. Pattern here is a little bit more involving, so we are not only focusing on the Go files, but we also want the file name to contain the word test to following the Go convention. And then our command includes the word silent, meaning that it will not output the fact that command has been run to the NeoVim status line. This is just much simpler because otherwise you would have to always hit enter to confirm that the command has run. And then it uses a Go test file. Go test file is a command coming from a Go plugin that helps you work with Go. So what's going to happen when I save a Go file with tests? It will essentially execute all the tests in the file, which is super useful. And the group points to our Go settings group. Something a little bit more involving, you can write your own functions. That's one of the superpowers of NeoVim, something I definitely enjoy. In this case, I have created an AutoCommand for Markdown files. So the pattern is just Markdown file type. And this AutoCommand is registered for every file type. So it's not as much an event, but just, on opening a specific file type, I have a file type Markdown. And the callback here is not inline, but rather it's a function I created. So let's go through it real quick. So it's not as much what function does, but the fact that you can have your own functions. But if you're interested, I'm using Veil, which is a command line utility that helps you write better prose, so better Markdown files, better documentation. And I have a few conditional logic here. First of all, this is my main path to Veil ini, that is a file containing Veil configuration. And then I'm checking whether I'm inside of a crossplane folder, crossplane docs, which follows its own Veil rules. If not, then I'm checking whether there exists a val ini in the current folder where the file is located. And then finally, I am going to trigger val on the current folders. It's a little bit involving here, but at the end of the day, it just shows you that you can have your own logic, your own functions that trigger on AutoCommand. That means you could build very elaborate systems that integrate quite neatly with NeoVim and your own logic. So how do we actually read AutoCommands? How do we learn about them? Here are a few commands you can use to do it. So first of all, AutoCMD lists all currently defined AutoCommands. Then AutoCommand-CMD and an event type would list AutoCommands for this event. You can add verbose without this double colon here. You can add verbose, which would add more details. It would show you, for example, in what files commands are registered. And then you could also list all the command groups and so on. But if you don't want to remember all this, I highly encourage you to install Telescope, and you can use Telescope AutoCommands to list all the commands in a fuzzy finding way. So let's see how this could look like. So I'm going to open my AutoCommands file here. Let's make it bigger. So this are my AutoCommands. I showed you some of them. What we haven't talked about is the user command. That's a different way of registering your own command, but this is not an auto command. It's not a command that is going to react on an event. It's simply a command that you have registered and it's existing, and you can use it within the auto command. So here, for example, I have another go auto command, and I can use it. It does some folding, and again the tests go that we've seen earlier, go format command, and so on and so forth. And there's quite a few of those I have registered here. All right, so let's check the Telescope. So we do Telescope and AutoCommands, and then you can see here all AutoCommands that are available. So for example, let's do above read post maybe, and then we can see there's an AutoCommand here from git sign, an AutoCommand for various files, images, and so on. And you can kind of see and execute each of those commands. So very easy way to interact with it. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. I think that was it. Highly encourage you to try it out. If you're using NeoVim, this will take your NeoVim experience to the next level. AutoCommands are very powerful. There are some quirks you should read about in documentation. With great power comes great responsibility. You have to pay attention to certain things. But I find AutoCommands to be extremely useful. I have a very elaborate task management setup where I use Task Warrior, and AutoCommands play a big role within integrating this within NeoVim and having my own functions. All right, I hope you've learned something new and enjoyed the video. Drop me a comment if you would like to see anything else from NeoVim. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.